Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You get more information and find out about previous shows and future shows at our website, which is right behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations and people in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Sabrina Rock, an actor, musician, and stand-up comedian. And thanks for joining me today as being my guest, Sabrina. And before we go further, you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. So that's Sabrina. You got it. Okay. That's like a Three Stooges thing. Do they used to do that, right?
For me, it's the Little Rascals when
Oh, so
when
Little
they said
Rascals.
bye.
Okay,
Oh,
very
and I'm not
good.
a musician. I sing. I wish I knew how to play an instrument.
Okay, you sing. Okay, I had down musician. Sorry about that.
All right.
And Sabrina, as you'll see, is certainly a busy individual. She's a graduate of the Savannah College of Arts and Design. She was recently seen in Hendersonville Theater's productions, Sordid Lives, portraying the role of Latrell Williamson, and past productions, Always a Bridesmaid in Hendersonville, university credits, including Story Theater, Oliver Twist, Carousel, and Dead Man's Cell Phone, among others. And Sabrina, the question I always ask is, as a child, you grew up where?
Technically, I was born in Florida, but then we moved when I was like maybe 3 or 4 to Georgia. So I
Okay.
kind of always say Georgia.
So when you grew up as a child in Georgia, did you always know you wanted to be in theater and productions?
No. I think I wanted to be a vet or a marine biologist or an astronaut.
Okay. So you didn't become any of those,
No.
you became do other things as well, but you became an actor. When did you start acting? In college?
Um, Realistically, I think it would be like from you want like the beginning.
Sure. Yeah.
The first time that I ever felt that I should probably do this, or found my love for it, was when I was in elementary school. And I will never forget, I had the best music teacher. His name is Mr. Neil Thompson. And I just absolutely adored him. And we would put on these, concerts for our family to come and see us sing. And I will never forget. We did. It was a Christmas show, and it was the 12 Days of Christmas. And I was 8, so I was 8 maids of milking, and they gave us like a prop, and I brought one. So they gave us a prop, and it was like a play school, like one of those rubber animals that have like wheels or something at the bottom.
Right.
So I was 8 maids of milking. So for 8 maids of milking, I was grabbing the udder, pulling at it or whatever. And I guess they gave me a little bit of a laugh. And then when it came back to me again, I just like fed off of that laughter. I picked up that cow and just started shaking it. I don't even remember exactly what I did, but the audience just erupted. And I just remember my heart and my everything within me was just like, I don't know. And like, I think from then it was just,
Two
I don't know,
questions.
meant to be.
Is
Yeah.
the teacher, you said Mr. Williamson was his name? Was
Oh,
that the name?
Mr. Neil Thompson.
Neil Thompson.
Mr.
Is
Thompson.
he still around?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He follows me on Facebook. We're friends.
Okay, great. Super. So if you're listening, we're going to give a big shout out to you. You'll hear your name mentioned. So cool that you're still in touch with him. So you did that when you were 8 years old. Do we have a record of that anywhere?
Actually, I think we do. I think there is some VHS tape somewhere in my father's house where I am shaking a fake cow. I would love to see it myself, actually.
Because Sabrina, I have this idea, and I've shared it with some of the people at Hendersonville Theater, but wouldn't it be a great fundraiser if everybody recreated their very first role? So we'd have a thing, a fundraiser that you could be yourself as an 8-year-old milking this cow. But wouldn't that be a fun thing to do?
Yes, I
Okay,
would
so,
do it 100%.
so if your dad doesn't have it, we'll give him a chance to see again. But okay, so 8 years old, I can't believe you still remember the first role. Do you remember your lines?
necessarily have lines. Like we just did like the singing, but like the first role I ever had, I remember the first play I was ever in.
Which was what?
It, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Okay, great. For kids,
Yeah,
what was your role in that?
we all played numerous roles,
Gotcha.
but my favorite, of course, was when I got to play Lucy. And it's, the iconic line, I'll give you five good reasons. One, two, three, four, five. And I loved every moment of it.
How old when you played that role?
Oh my goodness. It wasn't far after elementary school. I'm really bad with keeping up with ages of when I did productions, but probably around like 10, maybe like 9, 10,
Because
maybe.
I just saw the play, ironically, not too long ago, and I could definitely see you being Lucy. I love it. So you were, as a kid, you were acting a whole bunch of things. Did you then continue in high school and college? Did you continue
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
primarily in acting?
Yes. Middle school, we didn't really have an acting club or anything like that.
Right.
We randomly had like a talent show. And I was like, I am going to make a fake version of Wendy's and make it Cindy's. And I was this like really Southern. I was like, hey, y'all, welcome to Cindy's. So happy to have you with us. And I'll never forget, it was like my first like sketch comedy thing that I had written myself and performed on my own. I think my dad helped me build the Cindy's thing. And I'll never forget, once I was done, the lights faded, but they didn't give me time to get everything off stage. And all of a sudden, the lights came back up. And I just remember being like, but then I remember just having this thing, this instinct just kick in. And I just started talking. And that was my first time ever improving because I literally just came up with a whole new scene right then and there. I didn't have a choice. And it was great. I enjoyed it.
About
And I
how old,
won.
about how old were you then? Do you
That was
remember?
at the latter half of middle school. So like I said, I'm horrible with ages. So like
Sure.
right before I went into high school, it was probably seventh or eighth grade when I did that.
Wait, so
And
how
then we
cool,
started drama. Then that's when we started a drama club.
but how cool is that? So you won this one thing. This was competition. Was there a prize or what?
Yeah, it was just a talent show.
Okay. And what was the prize?
I don't remember.
Okay. So I don't see it behind you. I don't see it on the wall. I don't see, something that they didn't keep it. So very cool. So the evolution of a comic or evolution of an actor. So you did this, then you eventually got to high school where there was actually a drama club and there was a drama program.
Well, we actually had a high school come to our middle school. I actually went to a magnet school for acting. I had to audition to get in that school. It was called well, it is still an amazing program. It's called Pebblebrook High School, in Georgia, Mableton, Georgia. And they do acting, singing, dancing, and I auditioned for acting and I got in. And it's about 45 minutes to an hour away. So basically in the morning you would have a meetup spot where you would meet the bus, and I was the first one on and the last one off. And I can't tell you how many hours I spent on a bus, but it gave me time to think about things, and I would listen to music and create music videos in my head. And it was a wonderful experience. And I actually thought I was going to leave after my freshman year. I didn't think that I thought maybe it wasn't a good fit for me. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, Sabrina, it is a good fit for you. Like, because this is what I want to do. And I stayed, and I'm very happy that I stayed. I ended up getting a role in Sylvia that next year in my sophomore year.
Wait,
And
Sylvia
then
was
it
the
just,
one with the talking dog? Was that the one?
correct. I
Oh, I
played the
love that.
therapist.
Oh, did you really? Don't you
I
love that
did.
show? We should do it.
Yes, it's
Somebody,
amazing.
I've seen it a couple times locally, but not recently, so somebody should do that
Mm,
again then.
I
Or,
agree.
or to be the therapist, or would you rather be the dog?
The dog would be a lot of
I
fun.
could see you. Yeah.
But yeah, that would be a lot of fun. But the girl who played, the girl who played Sylvia was amazing. But I liked being the little nutty little therapist. So,
Well, and the nice thing if you had that, you still have the same role. So you were acting then. That's cool. You did Sylvia. This was in high school. You did Sylvia, and so you did a whole bunch of other things in high school as well.
Yes, I ended up doing, I think, honestly, my favorite that I did was Romeo and Juliet. I was cast as the nurse, which made me very happy, because a lot of people have only ever seen me do
Right.
comedy. And with the nurse, you go right from being ecstatic because you're about to see, you're not really her child, but in my brain, Juliet was like my child. I'm about to see her get married, and then I walk in and she's dead. And it was just this moment of like, I'll never forget, like having to figure out. That's why I loved my high school so much. Like, we put so much time and effort into learning how to be a better actor and what works for you. And for me, what works for me is really using my own personal past trauma. I know it sounds awful, but it's true. And that's how I emotionally connect with every character that I portray, honestly.
So
Um,
you were acting throughout high school, then you continued in college. You
yes.
studied
Yep.
as
I
an
went,
acting major.
yes. Yeah. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design for acting,
Okay.
performing arts, but acting in general. Yes.
And so your goal then was to study, become an actor, do as much acting as possible. What was your in there? Do you have a favorite role you did in college?
Yes. I actually played Mr. Bumble in Oliver Twist. I had the amazing Tony Award winning director Sharon Ott as the director, and she just was a joy to work with. God, she is just everything in a bag of chips, man. Like I don't and it was actually to me hysterical how I didn't even audition for Mr. Bumble. I auditioned, for the female
Right,
part,
right.
and basically I guess they didn't have enough men to read with the other women who were reading for Miss Corny, and then they were like, "Hey, does anybody just want to read it?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, I'll do it." And in my brain, since I wasn't auditioning, I just like flew off the handle and was just everything I wanted Mr. Bumble to be. And then next thing I knew, I got a call back for both. And I was like, what? I was like, what? And but I was really excited about it. And to be honest, I did want to be Mr. Bumble after I got the call back. And then lo and behold, I got cast as Mr. Bumble, and I just couldn't believe it. And those were the days when they put the cast list up and people
Right, right.
go and you have to go see it. And I'll never forget my friend, Jake Dupree, who is an amazingly talented dancer, and he's just phenomenal. Anyway, he saw the cast list before I did, and I'll never forget. He ran up to me and he was like, "Congratulations!" And I was like, "Oh my god, thank you!" Thinking that I got Miss Corny, and so I go to the cast list, and I'm like, "Oh!" I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm Mr. Bumble!" Like I was like, "Homo, where am I?" You know what I mean? It was just one of those feelings where you're just like, ah. So
Are you still in touch with that director?
actually, yes.
Very good.
I haven't spoken to her in quite some time, but I remember I did ask her for a letter of recommendation because I did think that I wanted to go back and get my master's. But I have so much student loan debt that I was like, let me reconsider that.
Well, the reason I asked that, we'll send her a copy of this tape as well. Say we were talking about her on a
I'd
webcast.
love
That
that.
would be so cool. So
Yeah.
update me then. So I got it. You were acting in college, you majored
Yeah.
in performing arts, and then there was a period of time because I only met you fairly recently. There's a period of time you weren't acting. Was that what happened after you graduated
Yeah.
college? You
Hmm.
stopped acting after college?
Well, it's kind of a more of a pay your bills situation.
Right,
So it's like, I was trying to do what I could and pay my bills. And to be honest, I really ended up going and doing open mics and also just singing karaoke. And that really helped fill the void. And then eventually I moved here, and I moved here in 2016, and I didn't do anything. I was just working, and it was nagging at me because it's my love, it's my passion to act and perform for people. All I want to do is make people laugh. Yeah. So after I was here for several years, I saw something about Hendersonville Theater doing nonsense of some kind, and I just remembered seeing it while I was like a band, like a flyer. I was in Ingalls, and I was just like, "Oh, there's a theater around here, cool!" And of course, I had heard of Flat Rock Playhouse. Of
right.
course, it's a state theater, and Asheville Community Theater. I had seen Sweeney Todd there, and they did such a wonderful job. But I just thought, I'm probably not good enough. I'm probably not, I don't know, I'm probably not going to be able to get in anything, so I'm just not going to audition. But I when I saw they were doing Hendersonville Theater, when I saw that they were doing auditions in 2021 for Always a Bridesmaid, there was just something in me. I read the script, and I just wanted to be Monette. I wanted to be her with all of my being.
And that was such a fun show too. And now I do recall it. So I guess I met you in that. That's the first time I'd seen you locally. And so why do you want to be that one character?
Oh my gosh, everything about her attitude, the way that she looked at the world, she was just bigger than life. And I love to play those types of characters. I love to be the character, the yeah, I don't really know how else to put it, the attention seeker, and that's what she was. That's what she is and was. And then it's interesting to me because then it had been a few years. I took some time for myself because honestly, I really needed to take care of myself for a few years. Mentally, physically, I wasn't in the best shape and I needed to feel better so I could move more and be able to do more. And so I took some time off. I've lost some weight and I auditioned this past year for the entire season of Hendersonville Theater's, whatever, their whole season. I had numerous callbacks and I was incredibly thankful for all of them. And I just remember being called back for Sordid Lives, and that's the show that we just did.
Right.
And I actually was cast as Luttrell. And I remember when I got the email and I saw that I was cast as Luttrell, I was like, but why? Like, I think that was probably my number one question was why? Because typically I would always, always, always be cast as the Lavonda or the Nolita, the comedic characters, right? So I was so, on one hand, I almost didn't think I wondered if I should accept the role. And then I read the script again. And after I read it again, I was like, yes, 100%, yes, because
Because,
I wanted to be able to show what I can do.
because you're saying you were surprised on that, but I didn't know you had, gone out for the other roles, but I thought you were perfect in that role. It's just so wow, that
Thank
this is
you.
just really hit. I mean, the whole show is kind of out there, in terms of
Oh yeah.
nature of the play. But it grows on you, and especially when you
Yeah.
see this family come together. And so that's interesting. It wasn't your first choice, but talk a little bit about that process too. When you go through auditions, and you've gone through probably hundreds of auditions,
Yeah.
um, what advice do you recommend to people? In other words, do you just be open to the process, or is it better to have a set role you want to play? How do you recommend that to people? Now, so when you go for an audition, do you
Yeah.
typically choose the role you want to play, or just be open
They
to
do
it?
give you they do give you the opportunity to like write down who you would like to be auditioning for. And I told them, I'm pretty positive I wrote Lavonda and Nolita, and I never even wrote Latrell. But Guillermo was just, I don't know how he knew or how he saw that within me. But I'm very grateful and glad that he did.
Wait, who is that?
And to be Guillermo, he was
Oh
our
yeah, right,
director
right, yeah,
for Sordid Lives.
right.
So if I was to give any, advice or anything like that, I would say go into it with just the thought of, hey, I'm gonna audition for everything and see what the director sees me as, because at the end of the day, it's the director's vision. It's not yours. So even if you're not cast in something, it doesn't mean that you weren't good or, you didn't do a great job at your audition or your callback. You did. You may have just not been in their vision for what they're seeing. And I think it took me a really long time to realize that for myself, even just because I take a lot of pride with my work and what I do. And I always want to be the best that I can be. And I am my own worst critic. And I know that we all are. But sometimes you really do just have to realize that, you know what, it may have nothing to do with you. It's the vision that the director has. And I couldn't be more grateful for Guillermo's vision. because it allowed me. Oh, go ahead. Did
No,
you?
no, I was just going to ask you the same thing too,
Yeah,
in terms of preparing for a role. What's your feeling about seeing a movie before you prepare for the role, like Sordid Lives?
I did. I
You
watched
did.
it. I had never heard of Sordid
Oh,
Lives,
it's
so I
like
did. Yep, I
some
watched the
people,
movie.
is that
hmm
good or bad? Some people, like even other stuff you've been in, have you in the past, have you looked at movies before you were in a show, or what's your feeling on
It
that?
it really depends. If it's something that if I can get my hands on the script, then I will read the script. But I mean, I don't. I'll watch the movie, sure. I don't really take their character from them. I take it from the script. I take it from the words that I'm reading. And then, like I said earlier, then I use it and connect emotionally through my own, you know, traumas that I've had within my own life that I can connect with her on. Am I married? No. Do I have a gay son? No. Can I connect with all of those things? Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Sordid Lives, you make a good point there because it's not like a iconic role. It's not something like you were acting that Dolly Parton or something that only could be done by a certain role because I don't even know who the actor was in the movie. Who played the actor? Do you even know?
I don't
Right.
remember off the top of my head. Don't
But
get me wrong, they were all wonderful.
right, but that's the point. It was so a film that seeing it wouldn't have prejudiced you, I guess, acting in it because
Mm-mm.
nobody knew the actor it was. So you just saw it and gave your own spin to it. Next time you do a show, will you see a movie? If there's a movie version, will you see it beforehand, do you think?
Eh, I mean, maybe. It really just depends on the production. Oh, here's a good example. I was going to audition for Matilda at Asheville
Right.
Community
Which
Theater.
I just saw.
I had
Yeah.
never, yeah, I had never seen it. What did I do? Found it on Netflix,
Yeah.
watched it. Because I want to be the Trunchbull. Come on. We all know. Come on. We all know I want to be the Trunchbull. But after watching, it was the nostalgia for me of the 90s comedy of the film that I wanted to portray. I don't actually think I want to be the Trunchbull in the musical. And
Did you did,
so that's why I was thankful that I watched that on Netflix because I
did
was like, I actually don't think I want to play.
did you audition for it?
I didn't because I had just they were doing auditions the
Yeah.
week after I got cast in Sordid Lives. So I would either have to say yes or no to Latrell. And that was really hard for me. I actually was speaking to a couple of my actor friends because I was like, I don't know. Do I take the role of Latrell that I don't know if I really want or like? And then I was like, or do I audition to be Agatha? Like what, and it was just, it was a process of trying to figure out what's best for me. And then I'm really glad I watched it because of that, because I realized, no, girl, you don't want to be in Matilda the musical because not that I couldn't do it. I actually think I could do it. It was after reading Sordid Lives and seeing the depth of the character that I would have the opportunity to play. I have
Right.
never been able to show that even to my family. My family has never even seen me do dramatic work like that. So to me, it was gold. I was like, oh, thank God Guillermo saw me as Latrell and I didn't. I told him that numerous times. Oops, sorry, I kicked my stand. But I told him that numerous times how I just, you know,
Well,
didn't.
after seeing you in it again, I couldn't see anybody else in it. It's just like the role to me,
Oh,
it seemed was created by
thank
you,
you.
for you. Talk about something else you mentioned in terms of working with different directors. Is this something you've ever done before, or do you want to direct at some point in time?
I actually have directed before, and I actually was going to direct. It was Nonsense,
Right.
and then we were doing that for. But to be honest, I am not a musical theater director. I've never claimed to be, and I never was one. But I mean, I have directed plays and stuff in the past. My favorite thing that I ever got to direct was actually in college, Fat Pig by Neil LaBute. It's a great play.
Yeah, I don't know.
I identify a lot with that just because it's about a larger woman who falls in love with a guy, and he is actually a skinnier gentleman um, who does fall in love with her, but he lets the prejudice of the world and his friends and what his coworkers think or say get to him enough to the point where he just doesn't want to do it. And it's so heartbreaking because by the end of the play, she is at this point where she's like, I'll do anything. Do you want me to have weight loss surgery? Do you want me to, like, what do you want? What do you need? I'll do it. And he's just like, no, and it's so heartbreaking to see that, just because it's like, she's such an amazing, I don't want to cry because I'm wearing non-waterproof mascara.
Thank
But
you.
it's so heartbreaking. And I just remember I loved to direct it, and just, I wanted the audience to feel at the end that sense of loss that he felt, because she would no longer be that brightness in his life. And at the end of the show, the way that I did it was he was the only one left on stage, and the lights dimmed and everything just went black. But then I had silhouettes of other actors' outlines. It was a black box theater. So I had other actors' outlines silhouetted in glow in the dark paint on the wall. So when the lights went down, it was just him with just fake figures around him in a way. And it was just left with this lonely, empty, gutted feeling, is what I wanted the audience to feel. So
In talking about this, it reminds me of a question I ask a lot of actors who became directors and vice versa. Which do they prefer? And most actors, not all, but most actors say they prefer directing, But the reason they don't tell us the truth is because they don't have to memorize the lines, that way. So the director, but it's so funny because the director you mentioned, Sort of Lives, I've never seen him act, but apparently he's a very well-known, talented actor,
yes.
and so I'd love to see him act at some point in time, but he really, brought this show together. Let's fast forward a little bit in terms of, so I think I asked you off the air. Right now, you don't have anything lined up that you're going to be acting in. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, that is correct. I don't.
Do you have, aside from the one you mentioned earlier, do you have an ideal role you'd some time like to play? Something you've always
Mm,
wanted to act in?
mm. Actually, yes, noise is off. I
Okay.
want to be, gosh, what is her name? Now I can't remember Miss Clackett, I can't remember her name. Sardines. You know who I'm talking about. Oh my gosh, why can't I remember her name right now? Oh, that's gonna bother me. Yes, but that would be a dream role for me.
And nobody's done that recently, so that'd be a fun thing to bring to, the area a little bit.
Actually, Hendersonville Theater was going to do it, and then COVID hit. That was what I was going to audition for,
Really?
and then I didn't. And then, because I thought, I won't get cast. I don't think I should audition. I don't think I would get cast, just because I hadn't been acting in so long, and I wish I would have auditioned, but they ended up not being able to do it anyway, though, because COVID hit and they had to cancel it. So maybe they'll do it. Hey, maybe they'll do it. I would love to audition.
Well, love to see in that. And let's fast forward a little bit. So when you're not acting, you were telling me off the air, you've done a couple other things. And one of the things you do is you are an aspiring stand-up comedian, I guess you would
Yes.
call it. Um, what got you wanting to be a stand-up comedian?
Really just talking to my friends and family, and just like whenever I talk to I can honestly walk up to anyone and just start talking to them, and then they start laughing at some point in time, and I'm like,
Like
I
I
don't know
am.
what it is. Sorry.
Like I am. I'm laughing at this whole
That's
conversation.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I love it. Like that means I'm doing my job. No, I'm just kidding. um that's really kind of what started it, though, was just, no, what started it was the cow. It was the cow, and it was me wanting that laughter. And honestly, I feel the most at home when I'm on stage under the spotlight. um so, and I kind of like the thought of, like, I can hold the stage by myself in a way, and I can take something and go with it. Like, I remember, actually, I think it was 2021, when may have been 2021. I don't know. I think it was 2021. I did a like a stand-up kind of comedy Christmas thing. It was like an open mic Christmas contest, I guess. It's now called Oklawaha Brewing Company. But I did like a mashup of all of my favorite Christmas songs, but it was comical because hello, I'm gonna make it comical. So I think like the first thing I did was, you want me to do like just a 50?
Yeah, because what I'm going to ask you, it's too bad.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you about this in advance. Did you ever do a YouTube clip of that?
I didn't, but someone did record it. So I do have recordings. However, I plan on revamping it this year and performing it this year.
Okay. Well,
So,
when you do, keep me in mind. Seriously, we'll do another show where you can.
oh,
Wouldn't that be a
yes.
fun thing to do? We could
Yes.
seriously talk me off the air. I have an idea for you, but that would be a great way to showcase it. Anyway, so I cut you off. You were going to do a brief mashup of this. You want to show me what it looked
Oh,
like?
so like one example was, oh, Christmas is my favorite time of year. I absolutely love all the music, and I'm just going to go ahead and sing to you some of my absolute all-time favorite songs. You know what? I have a Sharpie right here. Let me use that as a microphone. I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. I'm just kidding.
Right.
Never do that to you. Like that was like just the beginning of it, and then I would merge it into another song, but by leewaying in with a subject. So it was like, oh my god, I wouldn't do that to you guys, ha ha ha, make a joke about that, and then just string along into it with like, oh my god, it's been so cold out recently. I wish I was somewhere warm. My good, Lord, I wish I could be in Hawaii. Which leads me to one of my next favorite songs, Melakalikimaka. Melakalikimaka is a thing to say on a bright Hawaiian Christmas day. And then, like, I have the audience, and then join in a little or something like that. And then it just mashes into the next one. And
Well,
then I just keep it rolling.
um, keep that in mind. I'll talk to you off the air about it, but I have an idea that I'd love to see
Yeah.
that. And it's too bad because Hendersonville just did this past year. They did a
Oh, it
Christmas
was so
show. Oh, you saw it
good.
with Christopher.
Oh,
Wasn't he great?
so
Um,
good.
but I thought that
Yeah,
was real same kind of crazy kind of thing, but I thought it was really well done. So
I do too.
you want to do more stand-up comedy? You want to do
Yeah.
what you telling me also, it's kind of cool. So your stand-up comedy also brings in music. Is that what you try to do?
Yeah, or really just everything. I a lot of my comedy though really just comes from either I tell a lot of my life stories that have happened in my life when I was younger or current or relevant now or but a lot of it is like from when I was young and or just really just growing up because so many things have happened where it's like, oh man, like that was, maybe not the best thing or something, but it's comical now, like so I have a lot of those.
And what's cool about it is that people are interested in, or the way you present it. Sabrina, if folks want to follow you or keep in touch with you, finding out about other performing you're going to be doing or stand-up stuff, what's the best way to keep track of you?
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram. My handle, there it is at Sabrina Rocks Comedy. And that's plural rocks. So Sabrina Rocks Comedy.
Okay.
And
And
that's where
hope,
you can find me. And then on Facebook, it's just under Sabrina Rock. I have my own page.
okay. Well, anyway, I want to thank you for being my guest on this edition of Blaine's World webcast. And just you did it. You had me laughing, which is great. So hope to see you more locally, and I'm sure we will. But thanks again for being my guest. I'd also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti, and Sabrina will hopefully bump into each other again in person sometime in the not too distant future. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.